Colorado Republicans score their biggest win in years. Our new congressional map gives the GOP a good shot at half the seats in a state that's not half Republican. Mountain towns that dodged another terrible wildfire year are still fighting last year's battle. Now it's in their water supplies. We won't settle the debate between DIA and DEN, but we will remember when the airport had a better sense of humor about getting called names. And the Denver Zoo is trying to solve a problem the same way your teenager is, by buying clean urine on the internet.
It's reasonable priced. It's something like $40 per gallon or so.
The next 30 minutes will whiz by because this is next. Colorado is a blue state these days, but Republicans are having purple dreams. The new congressional map unveiled overnight gives the GOP a real chance to win half our seats in Congress. Under old partisan rules, Democrats in the majority could have just gerrymandered themselves several more seats in the House, but voters said they didn't want that. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger looks at whether this balanced map is fair in a state that is no longer 50-50.
The colors don't mean much. They're just to indicate each of Colorado's 8 congressional districts under a map approved overnight by an independent commission. The state Supreme Court must still approve this map after hearing arguments next month about why it's fair. Where I'm standing near I-25 in Erie could be Colorado's next tourist attraction. 3 corners. Toward Erie and west, Congressional District 2. A little rectangle here, Congressional District 7. And toward Dacono and Frederick, north and south, what could be Colorado's new Congressional District 8.
That 8th district is a district that President Trump won in 2016. He lost it in 2020.
Ryan Winger, with conservative-leaning polling firm Magellan Strategies, believes this is the best map Colorado Republicans could have hoped for. Based on voter registration, 3 of these districts favor Republicans, and 3 districts favor Democrats. Democrats have the edge in 4 districts if you look at how voters in these areas voted in past elections. That leaves the new District 8 as a toss-up.
You know, under the old process, a 6-2 map, it was very much within the realm of possibility.
Had the Democratic-controlled legislature still had the power to draw maps instead of the voter-approved independent commission, the map would likely favor Democrats more than this does.
When you look at, the way the state is trending, it's hard to argue that the congressional map shouldn't at least favor Democrats a little bit.
That's really less about, did one political party win out or the other? And I think it's much more about, do these maps accurately reflect all of Colorado?
Amanda Gonzalez with Colorado Common Cause wants more proof the commission considered communities of color and the Voting Rights Act when drawing the boundaries, like the new 8th district that includes Westminster, Thornton, Dacono, and Brighton. The final map is not supposed to prevent communities of color from being able to elect their preferred candidate.
I think I would have liked to have seen a more robust analysis by the commission in order to know for sure whether or not these maps are truly fair to the BIPOC communities throughout our state, to evaluate whether or not there is a difference in who communities of color are voting for and who their white neighbors and friends are voting for.
Next, the state Supreme Court will check to make sure that the map meets the criteria under the law. Competitive districts, for all the talk about that, that's actually at the bottom of that list. And protecting the voting interests of minority groups is high on the legal list. State Supreme Court will hear arguments about the fairness of the map in 2 weeks. A charter school in Douglas County is firmly standing behind its board member who compared COVID precautions to the Holocaust. American Academy told parents in a letter that it does not think that the Facebook post by board member Kay Wan was anti-Semitic. The school now faces a discrimination complaint filed by a Jewish family with the Office of Civil Rights. Both the school and the Douglas County School District are named in that complaint. The Anti-Defamation League also sent the board member a letter earlier this month telling Wan that bringing the Holocaust into current political debates is not okay and encouraging her to take down that post. In the letter to parents today, American Academy's board of directors defended Wan, saying that they see her post as a criticism of dangerous government overreach. They went on to say they're not advocating the comparison between fascism and the pandemic, but they don't see the post as anti-Semitic. They said they saw it as the rejection of the kind of government that perpetrated the Holocaust. American Academy's defense of the Holocaust post went on to rail against, quote, toxic cancel culture that persists in our society. Hundreds of families in Silverthorne are still evacuated from their homes out of the Ptarmigan fire. And the rain and the snow that firefighters celebrated actually began to interfere with their air efforts today, trying to snuff out that fire that's still burning on a hillside north of Silverthorne. At this point, about 80 to 90 acres have burned. There are cities and towns in the high country still recovering from the brutal wildfires last year and now dealing with a very current crisis, protecting their drinking water. And this is an expensive emergency for sure. Our Anusha Roy takes a closer look.
There were some scary moments over the summer when Glenwood Springs was isolated in more than one way.
Cut off both geographically from the Front Range with I-70 being down, and we weren't without water, but we were without a way to bring new water in to be able to process.
The Grizzly Creek fire ripped through their two main watersheds. Within 7 days, they started drawing up plans to better protect their water quality. But as recently as today, saw ash and sediment mix into their water supplies.
Basically broke the banks to do all the projects as quickly as humanly possible.
It's a lot for a city of just under 10,000 people when costs add up to around $8 million so far.
We had to raise our water rates 36% to the users as well. And that's a combination of investment in our existing water infrastructure, but also a result of the Grizzly Creek fire.
We've been unable to treat water from the river about 40 days this year.
The funding woes are plaguing bigger cities like Greeley too, reeling from the Cameron Peak and East Troublesome fire. But over the summer, when ash and sediment washed off the slopes and then mixed with their water supplies, it turned jet black and could not be treated.
We estimate that the cost of recovering just the watershed, that's not people's houses, that's not roads, is $45 million.
That's for multiple spots in northern Colorado. So far, they've secured roughly half of that and aren't sure where the rest of the money will come from.
Without that funding available, we can't move forward.
So it's an issue to the point that even health systems like Kaiser are writing about, not just in Colorado, but out of state too. Both cities that we talked to said that they're really trying hard to work their options here through grants, through loans, as well as the feds. And actually, the Glenwood Springs mayor and city manager are in D.C. today talking about climate change. And Kyle, they're basically raising their hands and saying they need help to be able to handle these kinds of issues in the long run.
So, Anusha, we know obviously this impacts towns that are both located in the high country and on the eastern plains that draw from those water sources. And as you mentioned, climate change fueled wildfires are going to continue to occur in the future. So these issues are going to cascade in future years.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of it is so interconnected. You know, I asked Greeley, what are you going to be doing in the future? And one of the things that they're looking at is setting up basically a water trading agreement between their city and their agricultural partners as well, just to get cleaner water for drinking supplies and then give them some water supply in return. I mean, it's just one of so many different things that they're working on. They also said that they know in the coming months, snow is going to really slow down a lot of their mitigation work. So those millions of dollars that they're still looking to secure, they're hoping they'll be able to do that by spring in time for them to resume a lot of that work as well.
I remember that last year after the terrible fires, there was that rush to do everything that they could before snow fell, and then back in the spring.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, Anusha. Families with seriously ill kids in Colorado have one less thing to worry about because of the work of the nonprofit that we're supporting tonight through this week's Word of Thanks campaign. I'm excited to tell you about the Baby Foundation and what it does for families, specifically in northern Colorado. So, you know, even with insurance, families can face significant medical expenses when a kid gets really sick. And for nearly 20 years, the Baby Foundation has filled the gap to pay medical bills, to cover the full cost of procedures and medicines and therapy, taking care of some of the financial stress so that those families can focus on just taking care of their child. The Baby Foundation is all volunteer as well, so every dollar that they raise goes out to those families in our community. They work with them one-on-one, assessing their financial situation and then doing what they can to help lift that burden. On average, the nonprofit covers $5,000 in bills for each family. So, next family? That is pretty easy math for us at this point. We will know exactly how many families we help together. Text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491, and I'll send you that link to donate. And as always, I will match the first 50 donations of $5. And every $5,000 that we can raise together is one more phone call to a family telling them We will cover the medical bills so you can focus on your child's health. A small group of Denver police officers has failed to block the city's vaccine mandate, but they have other options. The airport would really like us to call it Den. Great. We'll fly out of Den through Ord to Ur. Mountain goats and bighorn sheep are a little too interested in a popular tourist attraction. The solution stinks.
You know, it comes in like half-gallon or gallon jugs, and so it smells terrible.
Let's crack some open next. Denver City employees need to get vaccinated by tomorrow or risk losing their jobs. Lawsuit by 7 Denver police officers to try and block that mandate was thrown out by a judge today. The judge who tossed that suit after 30 minutes in court pointed out that the police officers have had months to sue and just got around to doing it. She said they first need to appeal through the city's process. Her lawyer plans to do that. You know, we've told you about enough audits over the years that uncover serious issues. Only fair we tell you that a recent state audit found some good news. The state spent less than expected administering 8 pandemic-related programs, and the millions saved on administration was then able to go into the direct pandemic aid instead. So, well done, public servants. Well done indeed.
A cool fall storm is moving across Colorado, and the early afternoon rain has slowed traffic this evening. We had sunshine today, and that warmth allowed us to get to 70 in Denver before the cool front came in. And then we've been sitting in the 40s and 50s with a cold north to northeast wind that continues to blow 25 to 30 miles per hour. Series of little waves coming through. Thunder, lightning, nothing severe, and a little bit of snow around 12,000 feet. Could go as low as 9,000 feet. Flash flood watch for that I-70 corridor from Glenwood Springs up to Eagle. And this line of showers is moving east, but we're not done. There's more rain in the forecast tonight and maybe a little more snow for that fire zone. So the scattered showers will be moving in, kind of a cool, unsettled pattern for us for tonight and for tomorrow. And the temperature trend tonight will stay right where we are, but grab the umbrella, keep it with you. Temperatures tomorrow will be below average. We've got a chance for more showers heading into the weekend, and then sunshine and 70s for Sunday and Monday.
Hey, great news for the evacuated families up in Silverthorne. Within the last few minutes, the Summit County Sheriff told those families they'll be able to go home at 10 a.m. tomorrow. That small but stubborn Ptarmigan fire's still burning, so they're going to be on pre-evacuation status. Means they need to be ready to get back out at a moment's notice if that fire takes a turn for their homes. So DIA is still trying to make DEN happen, trying to get all of us to refer to the airport by its official airport code, DEN, which I guess is also supposed to be like fun or trendy or marketable for the city. I asked you about this yesterday, got a whole stack of responses that I read, and you all still call it DIA, what we call it. It reminded us of one of our all-time favorite stories on Next from 2018 when we explored airport names with DIA's very funny former spokesman.
Heath Montgomery, spokesman for DIA.
Thank you.
Or DEN.
Heath is kind of a BFD at DIA, and even he doesn't give a Damascus International if you don't use the official airport designation, DEN.
DIA has really been a part of our brand identity for a long time, so we certainly don't have a problem with people using that name interchangeably with DEN or DEN or Denver's Airport or Denver International. It really doesn't matter to us.
Thanks for being cool, airport spokesman. That's why you're next BFF. When it comes to official airport codes, there's a ton. Yet no DIA. We are DEN, no matter what some Summer Lake International Airport calls it on TV. But the nice folks at the airport aren't mad as Helsinki Airport if we use the old phrase. They're more likely to laugh than get hot about it.
I think it's all interchangeable.
Thanks for being chill, DIA. Almost makes me want to call you Den. 2018, a simpler, kinder time. So when I asked you last night if you're bowing to the airport's direction that we call it DEN, I also asked you, just to keep everybody honest, what do you call the stadium where the Broncos play? The vast majority of those who responded said you just call it Mile High. I don't think we got one person who mentioned the current naming rights. In fact, today I tried to remember the actual current name and couldn't immediately come up with it. Few of you said you still catch yourself calling it Invesco. Want to feel old? Invesco has not had the naming rights to Mile High in 10 years. A clash between humans and goats on Mount Evans. It's creating a dangerous situation. And the solution? You're in for a surprise.
It turns out that Mount Lion urine is commercially available. You can buy it like on Amazon.
A very serious news story about a very serious issue that we definitely will not diminish with juvenile jokes. Next. There's a problem on Mount Evans. The solution is to spray a bunch of pee up there. Our #1 reporter Noel Brennan has the story, and trust me, you're in for a treat.
What's up, Rita?
Building trust with bighorn sheep takes time.
Come on, Lucy.
Jess Harrington's patience pays off.
That is a first, yeah.
That moment she feels for the first time a sheep tongue.
That was pretty awesome. That's like the highlight of my at least month.
The highlight of the year comes at the peak of North America's highest paved road.
Mount Evans is a really awesome place to go.
The Denver Zoo sent Harrington and fellow researchers to Mount Evans to learn about the source of salt that bighorn sheep and mountain goats love to lick.
Where is it that these salt sources are coming from, and is that the root cause of the problem that's attracting animals in?
As they study what draws wildlife to humans, they got curious. What might drive them away?
It turns out that Mount Lion urine is commercially available. You can buy it like on Amazon.
The zoo bought it by the bucket.
$40 per gallon or so. Like it's not outrageous.
And took it to the parking lots of Mount Evans.
Our conservation vehicle smelled like urine for probably about a week or two after we transported up there. So I basically walk around with a jug and then like a metering stick that counts every 10 feet and then pour and so on.
They set up cameras to see how a predator's pee affects other animals.
We're hoping that bringing that scent of the mountain lion urine up to where they're at in the summer, it'll stimulate that survival response or that survival mechanism and keep them away from those areas.
If it works, a researcher's career may reach its peak.
Yes, yeah.
For Next, I'm Noel Brennan.
Next summer, the zoo plans another experiment on Mount Evans. They want to make fake bighorn sheep tongues to see how well the tongues collect salt on different surfaces. We're going to make Noel cover that, too. The most Colorado thing we saw today is friendship that cannot be fenced apart. I feel like you see the little fence cutouts all the time where Coloradans have made peepholes so their dogs can see the outside world. I love that. Emily and her neighbor had a hole in the fence between them so the dogs could see each other and converse. And new fence went up, so they upgraded to a kissing booth. Slobbery and ingenious. Send us the most Colorado things you see. Email next@9news.com or use the hashtag #HeyNext. So I think so many of us have known a family with a seriously sick child. You know, you struggle with what to say, what to do. There is something we can do. We're doing it tonight through your Word of Thanks campaign. And some feedback. Upset with how I handled that last story. Next. The Baby Foundation is a Colorado nonprofit that has a simple mission to help families that are in really complex and difficult situations. That nonprofit covers unpaid medical bills for families with very sick children. They give $5,000 worth on average. And this nonprofit's all volunteer, so every dollar goes right to the families. Text thanks to 303-871-1491, and I'll send you the link to join me in donating to this week's Word of Thanks campaign. These are families dealing with heartbreaking challenges, and together we can help where we can by taking away some of the financial strain. Steve writes in tonight to say, when you say that you will match donations, do you really mean you or do you mean the show, in which case we would be more correct? It's my donation, Steve. It's not the station's. I will never ask you to give to any cause that I don't personally give to myself. Patty wrote in, upset that I made a joke about teenagers buying clean urine online. It's not a joke, Patty. Watch the credit card statements very, very carefully, line by line. See you next time.